So now let me welcome my very good friend, Mr. Vijay Shah. He is founder of Exim Club and also runs his business Petals Services, which is around 29 years old, supporting businesses in import and export services. So welcome, Mr. Vijay. How are you, sir? So you are on mute, so if you can unmute.
Yes. Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So, how's uh, the day? And please, let's start with your understanding of the interim budget. I will not say, but the interim budget is not only does give a lot of direction about what if this government comes back,
See, if
what they
if
are thinking.
if I have to describe this budget in a one word, it is a Modinomics. I can say like that.
Mhm.
See, nothing has been very specified in that particular this interim, except that it is just a story of the last 10 years, what has been happened versus what was it was, and what is the path at which we would like to go further on that thing. See, frankly speaking, Madam Ji has suggested a very perfect route by which we can grow, we can growth, and India can have a good economy in the world. There is no doubt on that. This is a very good path has been set up in last 10 years. Frankly speaking, nothing is clear about anything special for the industry people. But if we can see from a different angle, if nothing has been given specific for an industry, but the way in which the projects have been lined, infrastructure has been given a thrust, defense has been given a thrust, definitely, ultimately, that is going to boost the industries only. No doubt. Straight benefit is not there for a common man or an industry man. Yes, this has been benefiting to the poor people and by getting that. So, in my opinion, if now we wanted to give a special particular provision and the things on an employment as a thrust, and we wanted to give a special things to the youth, then in my opinion government should stop all this kind of the freebies which is being given to the poor people, except the education. All kind of the falana yojana, dikana yojana, ye kalyan yojana, wo kalyan yojana has to be stopped. See, what has been, it's my personal view, but what has been observed is that in a market, the youth is not ready to do any of the employment. They are not interested in going for any job. They simply wanted to run around and enjoying the freebies what the government is giving. See, right from the child of the birth to the marriage and even to their own son, everything is going in a freebies. So, what for the youth should go for the work when sitting idle they are getting an X amount, and with that X amount, if their livelihood is continue, why someone should go for the job and spend their mind? This is what has been the culture has been developed in a youth. Whereas the FM is saying, okay, we would like to put a special thrust on the youth development or the employment development. But in my opinion, this is the very big hurdle. And even yesterday also, two new scheme has been announced for the poor people. So it is adding a fuel to this unemployment only. See, if there is any single vacancy, even in a private sector or in a public sector or in a government sector, you must have observed there is a huge applications are coming. But
Isn't
ultimately,
there,
what is that?
I
Nothing.
see a lag. I see a lag.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, this budget, nothing more has been given except the just given a special thrust on the poor, and it is going to be ultimately killing the economy. What the economy Modi wanted to develop, a growth, the growth will not come. This is my personal opinion. Nothing has been
I think,
given for a
Mr. Vijay,
special thrust on the
there is
export
some.
part. Export, nothing is there. There is no any benefit. Nothing is that. Yeah, it is a welcome change that there is a no change in a direct or a indirect tax, no change in the any duty structure of the any imported item, or nothing is there export item. But over a period, export is, instead of a going to boost, it is going to be a hamper with a multiple restrictions are now being started by the customs and by all other different agencies. Instead of a controlling a one agency, if I give an example of a food industry, there are multiple agencies now ruling the exports. For an example, it is an Export Inspection Council, it's a DGFT, it's the customs, it is the APEDA, it is the MPDA, it is the coffee board, it is the tobacco board. See, there are number of restrictions, and all over and above that, it's a food safety standards. So this kind of the multiple restriction and multiple law is definitely going to hamper the export, and particularly the merchanting export is really, it is at present it is on a hampering basis, because number of things are in a band, whereas in a number two it is already going on. You can see the data, you will see the export has been
Okay.
increased in a number of data, but it is restricted items. For an example, wheat flour or a sugar or a rice, they all are under a restriction.
Yeah, the focus is more on the domestic market, curbing the cost in the domestic market, which is
See,
where
but
the exports have been taken care of.
no,
Like, there are a lot of
no.
restrictions.
See, by putting any restriction on the export, there is no change in the domestic price. Domestic price remains the same. On the contrary, it is increasing also parallelly.
Okay.
So it is basically a particular segment driving items. It has been restricted, and it has been given a benefit to a big shot people.
Mm-hmm.
MSME are not getting any of the fruit by virtue of this. These fruits are
Yeah.
going to be eaten by the multinationals or the corporates only. And though government is saying in openly that we wanted to give a thrust, we wanted to give a importance to MSME, everything is just on a story. In practicality, nothing is there.
I agree with
Unless,
you on that.
unless a unit is a dashing unit and ready to face the challenges, yes, those units are getting that. See, at the down level, yes, at the top level, the officers are good, cooperative, understanding the things, but at the down level, no officer is ready to work without any bribe, and even by accepting the bribe also, they are not doing any work because they don't know what is the rule. I can
Mm-hmm.
give a live example of the state GST, where not a single officer is a capable officer. Particularly, I can say in a Gujarat region or a Haryana region or a South region or a Karnataka region, because I am working as a Exim consultant, and I am associated with a number of states because I have a clientele base pan India. So I came across with the number of divisions and things, but everywhere the story remains more or less the same. Yeah, percentage wise it may be a little bit higher or a lower, but ultimately it is the thing. With this budget, it I don't find any change going to be there, accept that it is just a good scenario. Yes. One thing is very much sure, Mr. Modi, our beloved Prime Minister, has done a very good job about this Ram Mandir. He is really a person who looks after to develop the country as the Hindu Rashtra. I do admire that step, and I do accept that yes, this is what is our culture and we must adhere to that culture. See, only with that spiritual culture we can go further on this.
Yeah, I think the budget also talks
Yes.
about
Yeah, budget has given a special things to develop the spiritual places and all the this cultural cities and this devotional cities and like that. I think the line is disturbed. I'm not getting your voice, Sandipan.
the tourism in this budget. That's one of the areas.
Uh,
Pram Pratishthan, there's a lot of focus on building which and
I'm not getting your clear voice, Sandipan ji.
uh,
Hello, 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 hello.
yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now it's clear.
Great. So there's an issue with the internet connection from my side. So I think there's a lot of focus on the spiritual tourism as part of
Yeah,
this budget. I
correct.
think one area and focus a little bit on the aviation industry. These are
Yeah,
the two which and green initiative. These are the three area where which talks about a little bit futuristic view. Apart from
yeah.
there, we have this, as you are talking about, this budget is just a budget for election. Talked about what we have done for last 10 years, uh,
See, it was
and
supposed to be like that only. It was anticipated like that.
predominantly, let's not didn't take any bold step. Yeah, but I think it's the area of concern which you have really raised, sir, जो कि आपने बोला ना कि export और import export को ज़्यादा focus नहीं हो रहा है, and with but I need to understand from you
Yeah.
there is a lot of focus on the manufacturing, and there is a
Yes.
product incentive is been focused. Now, when
Ah,
you're producing so much, and if you do not promote export, how are you going to manage that? So these are two has to be
exactly.
linked properly. Yeah. So
See, the government is announcing the PIL scheme, production link incentives, PLI. But ultimately, that the beneficiary, who are the beneficiary? The beneficiaries who are having a turnover of say 70 or 100 CR plus.
yes,
Ultimately, this PLI needs to be given to a MSME people so that they can get their capacity increase and get the new technology. But I do not understand the logic behind the PLI scheme thing, why it is not being for the people who are having a turnover of a small or who are having a tenure of a 3+ year or a 5+ year in a market.
I think that also gives a focus for that also maybe is important looking at that. And I personally believe that okay, a turnover of 50 70 crore is a good turnover
Yeah.
to push with them to get some link, because when you are small you cannot compete that much,
Yes, there is
and
no
there
doubt
are
on that.
for
I
businesses also you need to, because and since both of us have met so many businesses and SMEs and MSMEs across India, they I think this also gives a lot of focus for businesses. Ki let's scale up our business. Let's not remain small. Let's invest and build it to a larger scale so that we can get the benefit. And once you become large, you can really play in the global market.
Yes. See, being a Exim consultant, actually I was anticipating in this budget is some provisional measure or some kind of a setup to be set by the government on particularly the monitoring the shipping lines, because ultimately the shipping lines are playing the major role in hampering the exports as well as the import. The sea freight part is the directly controlled only by the shipping lines, and unfortunate part is that all the major shipping lines who are playing with this Indian ports are not under the fold of the Indian government. So
Okay.
Indian government should look on that something. They should set up a one particular department who can monitor this particular shipping line activities.
But I think there was some focus on building water waterways and water bodies, both
See, what has been that department has been set up. It is to look after the transportation, inter-transportation connected with the road and sea, or a rail and sea, something like that. But what we are looking is that department who is a monitoring department who can look on the actual transportation cost part, because randomly shipping line is raising the sea freight without having any intimation, and ultimately the poor exporter is in a scoop. I can give an example. See, up to the November 23, the sea freight for the US continent was ranging between 2000 to 2500K per 20-foot containers. Today, it is ranging almost 3500 to 4500. So almost a double. And just in a span of a 1 or 2 month, if it is going like that, where the exporter will go, because exporter is working on a yearly or a half yearly contract. And if this is the way the sea freight is fluctuating, the exporter will be going in a loss. So rather than focus on the export, the manufacturer will be try to focus to stay in the domestic market.
But do you think everywhere the government should keep a control? Because I'm of a firm believer that government should not get into the business of managing business, but facilitate.
At least
Uh,
monitoring. See, certain ceiling and monitoring has to be there. The dwelling time at the particular pod has to be monitored and restricted by the things. See, particularly in this pandemic time, the at the Chicago pod, US government has intervened, and they have forced to get these consignments cleared in a deadlines. They have de- they have deputed an additional force and asked them to work for an extended hours also. So that kind of a particular monitoring has to be developed.
Good
if
point. I
if
think
really we would like to reach this 5 trillion mark, this kind of support is also required. And monitoring of the export product has to be with one or two agencies, not with the multiple agencies.
I understand because that is very important because there's the multiple agencies monitoring. But one good part is about the government initiative right now to not to pursue or not to bother much about for small liabilities or small cases, which is
Yeah,
for they ask for it for less than 25,000. So this is
yeah,
very small amount, but
yeah.
that's one good thing. At least it will save a lot of smaller businesses to not to get worried about
Yeah.
this compliance.
See, frankly speaking, we have to find out what what is best or what is good is available out of the worst.
Yes, that is definitely one. And I think one more thing I just want to understand now. It has really kept the taxes more or less similar, no changes. Do
Yeah.
you want to ask your CA ki bhai, how do I, what is my income tax savings and how do I save some money on income tax? So it's just a status quo
Now,
there.
that makes a very simple thing for a people or an entrepreneur who are earning up to 15 lakhs, 20 lakhs. Now it becomes a very simple thing. Simple filing, simple
Yeah.
thing, simple saving. Yes. So it's a enough benefit to a people, those who are having a turnover of say 10 CR or 15 CR. They can run their business in a very smoother way without having any headache on filing of the income tax part. That makes a very smooth road.
Yeah, and I think that the glitches on the GST, which is getting resolved day by day,
Yeah.
I think that will also help
And
businesses smoothly.
it is a very simple thing. You file your return. If everything is goes clear, you will get the order just even in a 15 days. That is the best part of the income tax department.
Yeah,
In
that
my case, in my case, the last year, the financial year, this assessment year, 23, 24, I have filed the return, and on a seventh day, I got an email from income tax department that your return has been processed.
yeah, that's for individual and for salaried people. That is there's a lot of ease
Yeah,
whenever there's a tax deduction which is there throughout the year, so
correct.
they get the
Yeah.
returns at a very
Even
faster.
even at the partnership companies have got their return assessed in a 15 days, 10 to 25 days, having
Yeah,
a no hitch.
that's something. Yeah. That's something. There's a lot of changes happening in the at the financial management part from the government side.
Yes, yes, yes.
This improvement will
If you
definitely.
if you compare this slab of previous year and the current year, what has been announced by the finance minister, there is a vast difference and a benefit now. See, income up to 10 lakhs, it is it has been reduced from a 30% slab to 20% slab.
Yeah,
So it is a straightaway benefit. In a overall, you are saving a 10% of the payment in the income tax, and that is a not a small amount. It's a huge benefit. I can say like that.
and it also helps in terms of specifically for businesses if they get their income tax refunds at a
Yeah,
faster rate, their cash flow management become much easier.
correct. Yes. Getting your IT refund faster, and even if it has been delayed by more than 10 days, without asking anything, IT refund is coming along with the interest.
So that definitely helps in terms of
Yes. It is
the cash
it
flow
is
part.
adding to your cash flow. There is no doubt on that.
Yes, to cash flow.
Yeah.
So before I will end up this one last question, Vijay sir, is there is election coming up in next 2 months or so.
Hmm.
And do you see whichever the government comes in, whether this same government comes in or some other government, do you think there is going to be a major change or policy shift from now, next 2 months' time or 3 months' time, and there will be a full-fledged change?
See, if the current government will continue, we will see the much more beneficial regime. But if government changes, then yes, there might be a huge change will be there in entire policy matters and the rules and regulations. This is what I foresee.
So let me understand what if the same government comes in, what is your wish list which need to be fulfilled in the
See,
full-fledged budget coming for
if
this
the
year?
same government is going to come, the path will remain the same. The corruption at what level it has been minimized, it will continue to that minimization. The smooth and way of ease of doing a business, and the way the infrastructure is being developed, and by that the industries are getting that the indirect benefits and that growth, it is going to be sustained for over a period of next 4 5 years if the similar government continues. But if there is a change in that, definitely there will be a break on the infrastructure, and ultimately it's a break on the industry people.
And what are the schemes or some support you would expect from government to ease import and export, and how you think that your
I
organization
expect
can.
it. See, I am not asking an any incentive now because India is no more a underdeveloped country. It is a developed country, so there is no doubt. No government, if it is a current or a new government, no one can think of giving any incentives as per the WTO agreement. So there will not be any incentives. But yes, at least if exporter is be is by giving this kind of a, instead of a multiple restriction and multiple agencies for that monitoring, if it is a one agency or a two agency, definitely there will be a good chances of a increase, and keeping the duty rates more or less similar on exports. There should not be any export sales.
What I can understand from you is there's a lot of ease of doing business from the government with the single window clearance for setting a business.
Yes. Yes.
What you are expecting is a single window for clearing export
Correct.
and managing export and helping exporters to
Yes.
run export in a far better way. I think
Perfect.
that's something
Yeah.
the government should look at it. I
Yes.
think it makes life much easier if you have a
Correct.
single window, single entity to deal with and take care of the export part and keep the GST, keep the tax bracket more or less same for
Yeah.
continuity so that it helps people to run the
Correct.
business in a much smoother way.
Because nowadays, with this digitalization, the working and administration part for a unit or a manufacturer or a merchant exporter or a large scale unit, it's a very simple, smooth, and faster. You can see the things, the GST collections. It is every day it is going higher and higher mark. Even for this last month, it is 1.72. It's a really a good mark, and by that, it is going to be a streamlining. The business is getting streamlined. So, in your future, if you once everyone is covered under this e-invoicing part, this will be a much easy and faster and smooth regime will be there.
In
Yeah,
fact, there is a lot of
no
talks
doubt
about
it's some teething troubles are still going on even after 5 6 years of the announcement of the GST. Still, it is going on, but it is not because rules are complicated. Just because it is the rules are not being understood and implemented properly by the officers and by the so-called advisors of that particular thing. That was the reason it is there. Otherwise, GST rules are so simple, and particularly for the exporters, those who are exporting under the IGST paid system in automatic route, I don't find any complication in GST system or GST rules and act which has been set for this exporters, and it is very clearly stating that it should not be loading of any GST at the time of export. Whatsoever you are paying, you are getting that GST back by way of auto credit into your bank account in a not less than 25 to 30 days of your filing a return. And this is the best part. I can say the special thanks to the finance minister who has developed this particular rule act and the monitoring system of linkaging this custom with the GST department and getting the refund on exports. It's
I
a
think this is
really a very good thing.
yeah, I think this is something a lot of businesses are also keen to understand. So if you can just explain one more time, how does if I have a GST and I'm exporting it, how
Yeah,
does it work so that it is much easier for because this is though we are digressing from the topic, but it will definitely help. A lot of people have asked us
yeah,
about
yeah,
because when you are exporting and you are paying GST,
yeah.
you are paying double because you're paying
Sure,
customs.
sure, sure. It will be my pleasure to train the people and get exposure on that particular
Yeah,
part.
that's something which a lot of people are keen to understand.
Yeah,
So thank you, Vijayji. Thank you
yeah.
very much for coming
It's
and
my
joining
pleasure.
sharing
It's
your
my
views.
pleasure to join on this platform.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
nice day, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, keep it up.
Yeah.